everyone, thanks for joining us this morning at Trinity Online. My name is Trey Warren. I'm one of the student pastors here. And this morning I am joined by my lovely wife, Lauren.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, and we're going to continue in our series, I Am. I'm so excited to jump into the experience with you guys. We have an incredible time of worship planned, and I know the message is going to be incredible.
Yeah, so we're going to keep talking about our series, I Am, from John 10, and we'll be talking about I am the door, that Jesus is our access to salvation and the life that God has for us.
Yeah, so we want to know if you're watching, comment below where you're watching from. I know a lot of people either watch as a family, they get on the couch together, they are all over the place. I don't know, comment below where you're watching from. I know we have people that watch all over the world, so if you are watching, comment below where you're watching from. And let us know where you are.
And if you're watching, here's something we want you to do. We want you to share this video so we can invite others to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and we hear story after story of people being introduced to our church and the gospel because they saw one of our church members, you guys, share the church experience.
Yeah, and sharing matters. It's how we invite people to church right now. So who are you going to bring with you this morning?
Yeah, and speaking of sharing, since sharing is so important, we want to share something really creative with you.
So since we are talking about I Am the Door today, and everyone is at home doing projects, here are some creative ideas to do with your door. You can make it into a table, or a chair, or shelving, or you can use it as a door.
That's a good one, babe. Hey, listen, these are just some of the fun at-home projects. And speaking of homes, did you know that groups have continued to meet on Zoom from their homes? Groups are an essential part of what we do here at Trinity. They're an essential part of the Christian walk, and we are still having groups via Zoom every single week. And we hear story after story. In fact, one group has been doing family scavenger hunts. That's such a fun and creative way to get everybody engaged in your group. It keeps it fun, interesting, and Christ-centered during all of this. And I know of another group that has been rotating, who's been leading the lessons every single week, just to keep people engaged and keep people in God's Word and continuing to stay together.
And the bottom line with all of our groups is we truly are better together. If you want to join a group, go to tbc.org/groups, and we would gladly connect you with a group.
And we have heard story after story of groups deciding to continue to give to the church, so that way we can be a blessing to others.
We're so thankful for those of you who continue to give. We really are.
Yeah, and listen, just a couple stories that we've heard from our church is a man decided to donate his relief check to help families impacted by those who are in quarantine. And that's just a spirit of generosity that we hear week after week. In fact, there are other families that have increased giving because we know that others may not be able to give right now. And in fact, $6,000 so far has been given to our COVID-19 relief fund. That's just absolutely incredible, and we are so thankful for your generosity. And we have sent money to our partner churches in the Caribbean to get food to the poor villages.
So we just really want to thank you this morning.
Yeah.
We are really, really grateful, and we know how much you give, so we want to give something back to your families. We have a unique and energy-filled service just for your kids.
Yeah, and in fact, they're starting a brand new theme, Unstuck. Yeah, I know, right? Unstuck. All month, they will be talking about how your kids can have determination through God's power.
Yeah, so we want to invite you to take time today and watch our online kids experience with your family on Trinity Kids Facebook page. They've included everything you need to lead your kids in their own church experience. And also, don't forget to tune in to Trinity Kids Live on Wednesday nights at 6:30 p.m. for more fun and games.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they tune in and lean into their services, we hope and pray that you tune in to all that God will do during this worship experience. And before we go into the worship experience, I want you to remember 3 things. Number 1, share. Number 2, comment. Let us know you're here. Engage, interact. And then number 3, be involved. Get involved with worship. Take notes as Pastor is preaching. Lean in, be all in, and we are so expectant for what God will do today. Let's jump into the worship experience.
You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, you're touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're healing every life. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Jesus is waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
What a powerful thought. Our God is a way maker, a miracle worker, and even when we don't see it, we know He is at work. I love that song, and I am so thankful that God brought that song to the church in the fall, because I know it has provided such a comforting thought to so many during this pandemic. If you're just joining us today, I want to thank you for worshiping with us, and I hope that this service is a blessing to you. And if you are someone who maybe doesn't attend church regularly, or you haven't ever attended our church and you live in the Jacksonville area, I personally and specifically want to thank you for joining us today. We actually have a gift we'd love to send you. You can click the link provided in the comments, or you can text it to the number on the screen. Either way, we want to thank you for being here, and we would love to send you as a gift, as a welcome to Trinity, just a little memento and thing to remember us by. I want to thank each of you who have been so faithful in giving to our ministry and being so generous during this time. We've had people give of their time and volunteering, their talents, sewing face masks and other things that they can do, and of their treasure. And it's meant so much and helped us to make a difference in our community. If you would like to give to our ministry, you can find the link in the comments, or you can go to tbc.org/give. Be sure to make your donation there. We really appreciate all the generosity that's been demonstrated recently. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week in our county schools, and it's a different one for sure with the whole at-home learning. But we want to take a moment and thank all of our teachers for what they do to serve our community.
When God created teachers,
He gave us special friends to help us understand His word and truly comprehend
the beauty and the wonder of everything we see,
and become a better person with each discovery.
When God created teachers, He gave us special guides
to show us ways in which to grow so we can all decide
how to live and how to do what's right instead of wrong,
to lead us so that we can lead and learn how to be strong.
Why God created teachers
in His wisdom and His grace
was to help us learn to make our world a better, wiser place.
Thank you.
Thank you. We miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for everything you guys do for us. I miss you and God bless you.
Thank you. I miss you.
Hey church, I'm Mark Ivy, the worship pastor here at Trinity, and this is Jason Eastridge, our worship leader over at Oakleaf. Several years ago, I discovered a burden to develop the next generation of worship leaders in our church, as well as train the current worship leaders that we have across all of our campuses and the different venues around our church. And so this past year, we started a new ministry called Launch, a worship training program to do just that.
So today, all the members of our launch team are going to lead you in worship. Stand, sing with us, and join with us as we celebrate the mightiness of God.
The wind is watching every gesture of your hand. Waves of fear collapse at your command.
Good morning. Welcome to our worship services here at Trinity, and really glad that you're joining with us, and excited this week that it appears that we're getting closer to being able to resume on-site gatherings, and we believe that this week we'll begin a conversation among our leadership and our volunteers and key people about what that might look like. It'll be in phases for sure, but just an opportunity to begin thinking about the occasion to gather again in person. In the meanwhile, thank you so much for being a part of our online worship experiences. I hope that each of you will make your way back to church or to church for the first time at Trinity if you've not done so. If you would, if you're on a platform that allows you to share, including YouTube or Facebook Live, please hit the share button. Invite family, friends, those in your network to join us for our series today. We're in week 4 in a series on the I am statements of Jesus. Each of those statements are found in the 2 Greek words, ego, I, me, which is just an emphasis, a point of emphasis that Jesus uses to describe both his person, who he is, and his work, what he has come here to this earth to do. And if you've been with us this entire series and you stay with us to the end, you're increasingly going to come to see with clarity that Jesus is calling us into a relationship with him as a person, as opposed to calling you to a religious activity or a religious institution or into a religion that is based on your performance or on your own activity. And so there's a different kind of life in Jesus Christ. It's Zoe, it's spiritual, it's eternal, it's full, satisfying, abundant life that only can be found in him. So we come to John 10 today. In fact, we're going to be here for 2 weeks because there's 2 I am statements, 2 metaphors that are given here. Really, you could look at them as parables that contain I am statement. One is the statement, I am the good shepherd. That's a sermon next week. And as the good shepherd, we find out how the shepherd feels about the sheep. And we're going to see a description, a full description of the relationship that exists between the shepherd and the sheep. Buried in that, John chapter 10, beginning in verse number 7, is a second metaphor, a second I am statement. Jesus said, I am the door. And I want you to think in terms of sheep gate. We have one here I'm going to refer to in a moment. And that sheep gate or that door was simply the entrance to the sheep pen. John chapter 10 and verse number 7, then said Jesus unto them again, verily, verily, I say unto you that I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door, think gate of the sheep. By me, if any enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. Now, our staff has put together a sheep gate. It could be a gate, I suppose, to any kind of thing. And you can see that the gate actually opens up. There were 2 kinds of sheep pens in biblical times. There was the sheep pen that would have been found in the villages or the towns. And oftentimes that is where the flocks of sheep and the shepherd of the flocks of the sheep would gather together. That would be a communal sheep pen. If you look at John 10, we're not going to read it this morning. We'll look at it next week. The first 6 verses talks about a communal sheep pen where there is a porter, and the porter stands at the door or the gate of the sheep pen, and he only lets the shepherds who have sheep in the pen to come to the pen. And if you're a shepherd, he lets you in, and the shepherd goes in and calls his sheep, and because the sheep know the name of the shepherd, they follow him out. Now, if you went to the rural countryside, you find the second kind of sheep pen. That sheep pen is in a pasture, or it is out in a field somewhere. Think that's where you find the shepherds on the night that Christ was born. They're out on the hillside, the pasture fields outside of Bethlehem. And so in the rustic or the rural sheep pen, you probably wouldn't necessarily find a gate like this. What you would find is that the shepherd would build himself a pen, and that pen he might find up against a hillside, or he might find it up against a cliff or a pile of rocks, and he would take fallen trees and woods, and he would build him a pen, And that pen would be large enough to put all the sheep in at night, and it would have a singular opening to the pen, and the opening is where the shepherd would spend the night. And nothing could get in, nothing could go out unless it went through the door, and the shepherd would be the door to the sheep pen. Here's what Jesus is saying. I want you to think about my sheep pen. You don't get in unless you come through me. You do not get out unless I let you out. You only find the way to the Father through me. Jesus is the door. He is the way to everlasting life. If you do not come through the door, you do not come in at all. In fact, you could say it this way. You come to the Father through Jesus, the door, or you do not come to him at all. It's teaching us this passage, this parable, this statement, I am the door, that Jesus is the only way to life. So let's talk about it. The gate, or Jesus, is the only way to God. What does that really mean? It's really core and essential to your understanding of Christianity and what separates it from all other world religion. All the other founders of world religion have either written or discovered or expounded upon principles or truths or teachings or tenets that describe their religious beliefs. Jesus did not come to offer us a set of propositions. He himself embodies the truth that he is teaching. This is important. He is God who has come to reveal himself to us and show us that the way to God and the way to real life comes through him. So when Jesus says he's the door or the sheep gate, he's saying there's only one way to God, and that is through me. John 14, verse 6. This is a later I am statement that will develop. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Think about that for a moment. Jesus did not claim merely to know the way. He is the way. He did not claim to know the truth. He is the truth. He did not claim to know where to find life or the secret of life. He himself, in fact, is life. So it's actually describing for us that the fact that Jesus is God. He was sinless in his life. And on his death, on the cross, he took on our guilt and paid for our sin by shedding his blood to open up a way to God. That's what the New Testament teaches. Hebrews 10 and verse 20. By a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to his flesh. In his body, in the death of Jesus, he reconciled us to God, and he opened the way for us to have access to the Father. Ephesians 2 and verse number 18. For through him, we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. You see, some people believe that natural theology is the way to God. See, natural theology actually teaches you this, that you believe that you can commune with God in nature, and people think they're going to find God at the end of a fishing pole or in a golf cart somewhere on a golf course on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. Jesus said, I'm the only way. Some people believe that they're going to find their way to God in human morality. Good men and good women are going to find their way to God because God likes good men and good women. Or still others believe that religious activity, join a church, take communion, get baptized, be in a Sunday school class, give your money, those are things that are going to get you into a relationship with God. And Jesus said, no, I am the only way. The gate to life is through a very narrow door, not because Jesus is restrictive or exclusive, but because he is the only way. Anything that teaches contrary to that, and Jesus talks about it here in verse 8, thieves and robbers, thieves, kleptomaniacs, people who steal by deceit, and robbers, people who come and take by violence. Here's what Jesus is getting at. This is important. The way you can tell true teaching, true theology, real essence of Christian teaching is that the way you measure the truth about people and their teaching is whether they're pointing to Jesus or some other way. If teaching or teachers and preachers focus on the things that are associated with Christianity, think life, think success, prosperity, health, wealth, all of those things, but they're not pointing you to Jesus, the finished work of Jesus Christ, then here's what Jesus said. They're a thief, they're a robber. They're telling you there are multiple ways, multiple gates, multiple doors, and Jesus says, I'm the only way to God. A few years ago, I found myself in an office of one of our church members downtown having a conversation with a friend of mine, somebody that I had multiple conversations with in the past and had shared the gospel. He had recently had in his life some personal setbacks, some personal and professional failures, some situations and circumstances in life where it's obvious God was working in his life. And up to that point, he had a worldview that he just kind of embraced everything that he had heard all of his life, and he would have fallen in the category of people that I would say this is how they viewed their relationship with God. God's good and God is loving. I'm not such a bad guy. There's got to be a way for me to be considered a Christian. When all of those circumstances and failures and difficulties stripped everything away, here's the reality that he came to. There's only one way into a relationship with Jesus Christ. There's only one way. It's through the door. It's through the sheep gate. Jesus is the only way to God. Let me tell you something else about this gate. Jesus is the way to God. The gate is available for anybody to enter. Now, I love this. If you look at verse number 9, there's this little phrase, I am the door, by me, if any man shall enter. Now, this is important. It's practical and it's helpful. You enter because you're called by the shepherd. That is, they hear the voice or they know the voice of the shepherd. That's repeated all throughout this passage of Scripture. And they humbly and willingly, because they hear the voice, they walk to the gate. They're willing to enter in. So the gate, if you will, if I could describe this gate, if I could label this gate and say, hey, Jesus is the gate, underneath the gate it said, and whosoever will enter in may come. It's a free gate. Now, you know what you might find on the backside? On the backside, it may say this, Jesus is calling people to come to him. In fact, the hymn writer said it like this, softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling. Jesus is calling you home. So the conditions are this. You must hear the voice of the shepherd, and you must be willing to enter in. No one is turned away. All you have to do is decide, I need to go through the gate. To enter the gate, that's the equivalent. Think of the metaphors that we're using of eating the bread or drinking the water. All you're doing is believing on Christ. It is he that becomes the object and the focus of your faith. You come to a person, you come to Jesus in order to be saved. Here is the good news. Through this gate, and only through this gate, is where a poor man has a chance. Through this gate, a sick man can become well. Through this gate, an ignorant man can become whole. Only through this gate can a bad man become good. And only through the door, through Jesus Christ, can a dead man be made alive. When my kids were little, and this goes back to before I started pastoring here at Trinity, my wife and I came in 1982, and my kids would be in the nursery. In fact, my kids grew up in the nursery Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and any other church activity that was scheduled. And on occasion, more before I pastored and less afterwards, whenever I could, I would go get my kids from the nursery. My kids would be playing with their buddies or their friends in the nursery, and back then we didn't have quite as much security, didn't need it as we do now. And I would make my way to the door, and I could get to where I could see them, but they couldn't see me. And if you talk to my wife, she would tell you that I'm not the most gentle, quiet person that has ever lived. And I would either say out loud, without saying the kid's name, I would say, hey, and they'd hear and recognize my voice, or I might clap loud like that, and my kids would freeze for a second, and then it'd be almost like this robotic response. They knew it was me, and they would stand up, and they'd go to the door, and they'd start looking for me. They were responding to my voice. Listen, I'm telling you that some of you, Jesus is calling you. You hear that voice and you're beginning to recognize. You may see it in your circumstances. You may see it in the deep restlessness in your own heart. You may be experiencing it through conversations that you're having with people, or even the fear and anxiety that you've experienced in this season of life. And I'm telling you, it's the voice of the shepherd coming for you and calling you and pleading with you and pointing you to himself, to the gate, and saying, if you'll come to me, if any man will come to me, he may be saved. That's what God's doing in your life in this season. The gate is not just the way to God, the only way to God. It's not just available to anybody that would enter, but the gate is the pathway to life. Now, there's an offer here of life. It's stated expressly in John 10, I'm come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. In fact, think of all these claims that Jesus makes, the I am claims. He says, I'm the resurrection and the life. There's that word, life. He says, I am the bread of life. Think about what he means by that. If you eat this bread, you'll live. I'm the light of the world, which is the light of life. There's no life apart from the light of the world. I'm the good shepherd, and the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep, John 10:10. Or I'm the vine. Think about the organic life of the fruit with the vine. Or think about the I am the way, the truth, and the life. And hear this claim, I am the door. And look what he says, I have come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. You see that through the door, through that gate, through the door of Jesus is a life like anything else, like nothing else that you could ever imagine. You see, Jesus is the door to salvation. See what he says here, verse number 9? If by me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved. It's salvation. It's not just future pie in the sky when I get to heaven. It is a past, present, and future salvation. In other words, we're saved from the penalty of sin. That's the past. We're saved from the presence of sin. That's the present. And we're going to ultimately be saved from the presence of sin. That's the future. Justification is the term that we describe what happens to us in the past. At the moment of salvation, God declares us to be righteous in Jesus Christ, and we're no longer under the penalty of sin. Sanctification is the work that God's doing through the Holy Spirit and the Word of God in your present day life to free you from the power and control of sin. And then glorification is the future we long for, when in the presence of God we will be free forever from the very presence of sin. So Jesus is the door to salvation. That's the life that you're looking for, but he's also the door to security. He shall go out and come in. So you think about this gate, there's got to be a way in and there's got to be a way out. Once you're in, the gate shuts and you stay out until the shepherd opens the door. And if you come in and come out, you come in and out, you come in and out safely, you come in and out securely. It is really an idea, if you're in the sheep pen, you're living in peace, you're living in rest, you're living in security under the watchful care of the shepherd. Actually, John 10 goes on to explain this about eternal security. You're found in the hand of the Son, who's in the hand of the Father, and nothing, not anything can pluck you out of the hand of God and the hand of Jesus. You're secure in him. That's the kind of life he offers you. Salvation, security, and then satisfaction. He says here, you shall find pasture. You'll be satisfied with the provision of God. Isn't that a great encouragement? God's going to take care of you. He's going to give you what you need day by day. Everything that you need is going to be found in Jesus Christ. An old preacher said it like this: the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I shall not want for rest, he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. I shall not want for refreshment, he leads me beside the still waters. I shall not want for forgiveness, he restores my soul. I shall not want for guidance, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. I shall not want for companionship, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. I shall not want for comfort, for thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I shall not want for provision, you prepare us a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I shall not want for joy, You anoint my head with oil, and my cup runs over. I shall not want for anything in this life. For goodness and mercy shall surely follow me all the days of this life, and I shall not want for anything in the life to come. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That means I'm going to dwell in a land where we'll never grow old. I'll dwell where the silence of eternity will only be interrupted by the love of God. I will dwell in the sun-kissed regions of an unclouded day, and I will dwell in a city whose foundations and whose builder and maker is God. So let me ask you today, have you ever entered into that gate? Have you ever come to God through Jesus Christ? The very end of the Sermon on the Mount, this is what Jesus said. This is a summary of the Sermon on the Mount. He said, enter in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be that go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. There's a narrow way, a straight gate. There's one way. It's through Jesus Christ. It matters what gate you go through. In the children's story, Alice in Wonderland, Alice comes to this junction in a road that leads in a variety of different directions. So she says to the Cheshire cat, Cheshire, would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here? The cat replies and says, that depends a good deal on where you want to go. So Alice replies and said, well, I don't much care. Well, then the cat says, then it doesn't matter which way you go. If it doesn't matter to you whether you go to heaven or not, it doesn't matter where you go. But if you want to go to the Father, if you want eternal life, if you want to be satisfied in Jesus Christ, there's only one way to go. If you want to go to heaven, then you must go through the door. So you can just download the Next Step card. You find that as a link there on the screen, or you can text 94090, and you can text the word pastor. If you want somebody to pray with you, text the word pastor, and we'll get a hold of you, and we'll find out what your prayer request is, and we'll take that burden before the Lord. Or text the word pastor 94090, and we'll get somebody to contact you, and you can have a spiritual conversation about the direction and destiny of your spiritual life. Or if you're making a decision for Christ, if you text that word pastor 94090, then we'll be able to follow up with you and help you on your spiritual journey. Fill out that card and let us know what God's doing in your life, or text pastor 94090. God bless you for being with us today. And know that we're praying for you, and we believe God's going to do great things. Remember, Jesus is the only way to God. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Tom, for that message. Such a powerful word. I hope you take what was said, apply it to your life, and live out that truth in your everyday moments. Before we go, I want to ask you to do three things. One, if you are a guest, be sure to let us know by clicking the link below so we can send you a gift. Two, if you want to make a contribution, click the give link. And if you want to talk to someone about your spiritual life or have questions about our church, click that link to talk to a pastor, and we would love to help you and serve you during this time. For all things Trinity, you can go to tbc.org, our website, find up-to-date info on what we're doing and where we're doing it. Thank you. Have a great day.
Jesus.